The small Earth ship called the Dawnfire floated through the dark edge of space. It was an old ship, patched and repaired many times, but it still worked well. The pilot, a quiet man named Toma, sat in the control seat, watching the stars move past his window. He liked the silence of space. It made his thoughts clear. Suddenly, a soft beeping sound broke the quiet. A signal. Weak and broken. Toma leaned forward and adjusted the screen. The signal was not from Earth or any known human station. It came from an old war zone, a dead part of space where ships from different alien worlds once fought long ago. Now, only ruins floated there. Toma frowned. Strange place to send a signal, he said to himself, or to be alive at all. He checked again. The signal was real, and it repeated every 30 seconds. It was an emergency code. Someone was in trouble. He had two choices: ignore it and keep moving, or change course and check it out. Many others would have ignored it. That zone was marked dangerous, full of broken machines and silent minds. But Toma didn't like the idea of leaving someone behind. With a sigh, he turned the ship and flew toward the signal. The journey was rough. Sharp pieces of metal and broken ship parts floated all around. Toma flew carefully, using old scans to avoid the most dangerous fields. After 30 minutes, he saw it, a small, royal-looking ship, shaped like a silver leaf. It was badly damaged. One side was burnt, and the other was cracked open like a broken egg. Toma turned on the scan. There was only one life sign: weak, fading. He suited up, grabbed his toolkit, and docked his ship gently beside the ruined one. The airlock opened with a soft hiss, and he stepped inside the dark, broken cruiser. The inside smelled like burnt metal and old smoke. Sparks flickered in the corners. The walls were smooth and curved, clearly alien-made. He moved forward slowly, following the signal. He found the life sign in the back chamber. There, lying on a slanted bed, was an alien girl, unconscious and barely breathing. Her skin was pale blue, her hair long and silver. She wore what looked like a torn royal suit, marked with fine symbols. Toma stared for a moment. She was young, maybe 20 in human years. Her face looked calm, but her body was hurt. He saw a wound on her side and a bruise near her head. "Who are you?" he whispered. She didn't move. He checked her pulse, weak but steady. Without waiting, he lifted her carefully and carried her back to the Dawnfire. Once back on his ship, Toma placed the alien girl into the medbay. The bed adjusted to her shape, and the healing lights turned on. His old medical system scanned her quietly, adapting to her biology as best it could. For hours, he watched over her, checking her vitals, changing bandages, and making sure she stayed alive. She never woke up, not once, but her breathing became smoother, and her color returned bit by bit. Toma sat by her side and looked at the strange markings on her suit. He remembered hearing about a royal family from the Virali Empire, a race that lived far from Earth, proud and distant. If she really was a Virali princess, then saving her could cause trouble. Her people didn't trust humans. Still, he didn't care about politics. Someone needed help, and he helped. That was all. Today's passed. On the third day, as he prepared food in the tiny kitchen, the door behind him opened with the softest. Toma turned. The alien girl stood there, weak but awake. Her eyes were wide and sharp, the color of deep blue glass. She looked at him with a mix of fear and confusion. He didn't move. He didn't want to scare her. "You're safe," he said calmly. "I found you. Your ship was broken." She didn't answer. Instead, she looked around the small ship, her eyes landing on the medbay, the control panel, and finally back on him. Then she spoke. Her voice was soft, but filled with suspicion. "Why didn't you leave me?" she asked. Her accent was clear, but her words were slow, like someone still learning human speech. Toma shrugged. "Because you were hurt. That's all." Her eyes narrowed. "You're human." "Yes." She took a step back. "Humans lie. Humans take what they want." Toma smiled gently. "I haven't taken anything. You can check." She looked confused, even more angry. Her voice rose slightly. sharp like a blade. Why are you being so kind, human? What do you really want? Toma didn't flinch. He just looked at her with quiet eyes and said, "Nothing. You needed help." "I helped." She didn't reply. For a long moment, they stood there, two strangers from different worlds, watching each other in silence. Then, without a word, she turned and walked back to the medbay, her steps slow and unsure. Toma let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. He returned to his food, thinking deeply. He didn't know what would happen next. He didn't know if she would trust him or if her people would come looking. But he knew one thing for sure. He had done the right thing. And sometimes, doing the right thing was enough, even if no one understood why. The sound of quiet humming filled the small medbay. Machines blinked softly, showing signs of healing. Azera lay on the bed, eyes open now, staring at the ceiling. Her body ached, but her mind was sharp. She remembered the explosion, fire, screams. Then darkness. Now, she was on a human ship. She turned her head slowly. The walls were plain metal. The light simple. It was nothing like her royal cruiser. No golden walls. No floating screens. No guards. Just clean tools and soft light. The man, Toma, she had learned his name, sat in the corner, quietly working on a device. He didn't speak, didn't stare at her, just worked with calm hands. Azera sat up slowly. "This is your ship?" she asked, her voice still weak. Toma looked up and nodded. "Yes, it's old, but it does the job." Azera looked around again. "Where are my guards? My ship. Your ship was damaged. I found it near the edge of the grave zone. You were the only one alive." She didn't speak for a moment. She didn't want to believe it, but in her heart, she knew it was true. "You healed me?" "I did what I could," Toma said. "My medbay is small, but it worked." Azera studied him. His eyes were clear, his voice steady. She could not see fear or greed in him, but she didn't trust it. Her people had told her stories of humans who only helped when they wanted something. "You didn't take anything from me?" she asked. "No. You didn't know I was a royal." "I guessed. Your uniform made it clear. Still, didn't matter." Azera narrowed her eyes. "Then why did you help me?" Toma gave a small shrug. "Because you were there, and you needed help." She frowned. "That's not how the universe works." "Maybe not," Toma said, "but that's how I work." Later that day, Azera walked through the ship slowly. Her legs were still weak, but her body was healing. She touched the walls gently. The ship was simple, almost old-fashioned, but everything worked. Toma didn't follow her. He let her explore. He returned to the control seat and adjusted the course slowly. They were heading toward a safe zone, neutral space, where no one would shoot first. Azera stood near the window, watching the stars. "You risked your life flying into the grave zone." She said. Double quotes, "Yes." "Why?" There was a signal. It didn't matter who sent it. Azera looked at him. "You knew it could be a trap." "Yes." "But you still came?" "Yes. Humans are not known for such kindness." Toma smiled faintly. "Maybe you've met the wrong ones." She didn't answer. Her fingers rested on the cold glass of the window. In her heart, she still believed there had to be a reason. No one gave something for nothing. That night, she couldn't sleep. The bed was soft enough, the air warm, but her mind was full of questions. She rose from the bed and quietly opened the door to the control room. Toma was still there, staring at a small glowing map. He looked up as she entered. "Can't sleep?" "No," she replied, walking over. Toma offered her a cup of warm drink. It was simple, not Vareli food, but gentle on the stomach. She accepted it hesitantly. "Do you live on this ship?" "Yes," he said. "It's my home." "No crew?" "I work alone." She looked around. "You help others, but no one travels with you?" "I've had crew before. Some left. Some didn't make it." "I see." There was a long silence between them. Then she asked, "What do humans think of the Vareli?" Toma took a slow sip of his drink. "Most think you're proud, strong, closed to others." "That's true," Azera said quietly. "But I've also heard stories of your music," Toma added. "Your people build cities in the sky. You speak 3 languages at once. That's beautiful. Azera blinked, surprised. No human had ever said something like that to her. Not without reason behind it. She looked down into her cup. Still, my people would not like me being here. I figured, Thomas said. They'll think you captured. Azera sat at the edge of the small bed, holding a thin metal screen in her hand. It showed simple logs written by Toma over the past few years. She had found the logs stored in the ship's system open, unhidden. He had nothing to hide. The entries weren't long. Most were short notes, names, dates, places. One log said, helped a miner stuck under ice on Nova 3. Gave him extra fuel. Another said, delivered medicine to the wounded on Station Gray. Line after line told the same story, small acts of kindness, done without reward. She had been searching for a secret, some reason why Toma had saved her, some hidden deal or plan. But there was none. Still, she didn't understand it. Toma sat in the front control seat, eyes on the navigation panel. They were moving toward a neutral space station, a place where different races met for trade and repairs. It was safe, or as safe as any place in deep space could be. He heard soft footsteps behind him. Azera stood near the door, holding his datapad. You help a lot of people, she said. Toma glanced at her. I try. Even people who are not human. Yes, doesn't matter who they are. Azera stared at him. You saved a Vareli child once. Yes, his ship was attacked by pirates. I pulled him out of the wreck, left him with his family. Why would you do that? She asked again, voice sharper this time. Toma turned to face her fully. Because he was a child, just like any other. But he was Vareli. My people do not trust yours. I know, Toma said simply. Azera took a step forward. You could have used him as a message. You could have asked for a reward. I didn't want one. Her voice rose. But why? You must want something, Toma. Lean back. He looked at her, not angry, just calm. You've asked me that before. Yes, she said. And I will keep asking until you answer. I am answering, he replied. I helped because I could. That's all. Azera clenched her hands. That is not normal. Toma gave a small smile. Maybe not in your world, but in mine. Some of us tried to make things better. Along. Silence followed. The ship continued to move forward. The stars outside stayed silent, watching. Later that day, something changed. A sharp alarm sounded through the dawn fire. Toma jumped to the controls. Azera followed, alert and tense. What is it? She asked. Toma narrowed his eyes. A ship just appeared on the scanner. Big one. Vareli model. Azera stepped closer to the screen. Show me. The image appeared, a sleek, dark ship with curved wings and royal symbols. Azera's face paled. That's the Flame Veil. It belongs to my people. A warship. Toma blinked. Think they're looking for you? Yes, but if they see me on a human ship. Her voice trailed off. She didn't finish. Toma understood. They might think I captured you. Azera nodded slowly. They may attack, without warning. He looked at her. You have two choices. I can hide you, and they never know you were here. Or you can talk to them. Azera looked at the screen again. She could feel her heart racing. Her whole life, she was taught that humans were not to be trusted. But now, she stood alive because of one. If she left without a word, her people would believe the old stories, and Toma would be seen as a criminal. But if she spoke on his behalf, some might not believe her. She could be punished. Still, something inside her had changed. She couldn't walk away. I will speak to them, she said. Open a channel. Toma gave a nod and pressed a few buttons. The screen flashed. A face appeared, a tall Vareli man with sharp eyes and dark markings on his skin. He wore a royal command suit. Identify yourself, he said firmly. Azera stepped forward. Commander Vesh, it is I, Princess Azera. The man's eyes widened. You are alive. Yes, she said. This human found me and saved my life. The commander's eyes shifted to Toma. His expression darkened. He took you. No. Azera said quickly. He rescued me. My ship was destroyed. I would be dead without him. There was silence. The commander did not look pleased. You are aboard a human vessel. This cannot be explained easily. I will explain it, Azera said. Her voice was steady now, strong. I stayed because I chose to, not because I was forced. Commander Vesh's eyes narrowed. Return to us. We will speak of this in private. The screen turned dark. The connection ended. Toma leaned back. That went better than I expected. Azera looked at him. It's not over. I know. He said an hour later. Azera packed her things. She was quiet, thoughtful. Toma stood nearby, watching. When you go, he said, they may not treat you kindly. I know. You still want to go. I must, she replied. But I won't lie about what happened here. Toma nodded. Good. She looked at him for a moment. I don't know what they'll say, or what they'll do. But I want you to know something. He waited. I don't fully understand you. Not yet, but I believe you are. Not like the others. Neither are you, Toma said. For the first time, Azera gave him a small, quiet smile. Then, without another word, she stepped into the docking chamber. Moments later, a transport beam took her back to the Vareli ship. Toma stood alone, watching the empty air where she had just been. He didn't know if he'd see her again. But, deep down, he hoped he would. Toma stood at the entrance of the neutral space station, Juno Ring. Round him, aliens of different shapes, colors, and sizes moved through wide halls. Traders, diplomats, and travelers filled the area. The air smelled like metal, oil, and strange spices. He held a small bag in one hand and a datapad in the other. His ship, the Dawnfire, was parked in the lower docks for repairs. Nothing major, just fuel and a few broken parts. He hadn't expected to see her again. But the message came earlier that day. Princess Azera requests your presence at the Vareli Hall. Juno Ring, your voice is needed. Toma didn't know what to expect. He was not used to politics. He was just a pilot. A man who helped when he could and kept quiet most of the time. Still, he didn't ignore the message. He came now. The tall Vareli guards waited at the entrance. One of them nodded. Human, follow us. No sudden moves. Toma smiled a little. Don't worry. I came in peace. They said nothing and walked ahead. Inside the hall, the walls were smooth and glowing with a soft blue light. The floor was clean, the air cool. Several high Vareli officials sat around a table. Princess Azera stood beside it, wearing a long white robe with silver lines. Her face was calm, but her hands were tight at her sides. Toma entered quietly. He gave a small, respectful bow, not too deep. One elder stood. Human, you were called here for one reason. Truth. We want to hear your side of the story. Toma nodded. I will speak plainly. They asked him many questions. Where did he find her? Why did he help her? Did he know she was royal? Toma answered all without fear. I found her ship broken near the grave zone. I followed a distress signal. I didn't know she was a princess. I only saw someone who needed help. An old Vareli woman asked sharply. You gave her food, care, and safety. What did you want in return? Nothing, Toma said. No payment, no favor. No. A silence filled the room. The elder woman narrowed her eyes. Then why did you do it? Toma looked around the room. Then at his era. He spoke slowly. Because I could. Because it was right. The room stayed quiet for a few long seconds. Then one young official whispered. That is hard to believe. Azera stepped forward. But it is true. She turned to the council. You taught me that humans cannot be trusted, that they lie, take, and destroy. But this one did not. She looked at Toma. He could have left me there. But he didn't. He could have used me for gain. But he didn't. She turned back. I know it's hard, but I saw it with my own eyes. Not all humans are the same. Outside the council room, Vareli officers and staff waited for the decision. News of the meeting spread fast. Some said the princess was under a spell. Some thought she was lying. Others, mostly young ones, wanted to believe it was true. Inside, the elders continued their quiet talk. Azera sat beside Toma, waiting. He leaned toward her. They don't like me very much. She gave a small smile. They don't like anything that breaks their rules. You're brave for standing up. I only said what was true, she replied. Finally, the eldest council member stood. His eyes were old, deep with time. We have heard both sides. We will not punish the human. He will return to his ship freely. We cannot say if all humans are like him, but we agree this one acted with honor. Toma nodded in thanks. Azera stood. I wish to say one more thing. The elder nodded. I do not want this to be the end, Azera said. We live in fear. We keep walls around our hearts. I wish to open a door, even a small one. The room watched her in silence. I propose we send a small group, a peace delegation, one from each side. Not warriors, not traitors, just people who want to learn. The room buzzed. Voices whispered. Elders looked at each other. This is not the way, one said. Too soon, said another. But the old council leader raised his hand. Let her speak. Azera looked at Toma. I want Toma to be the human side of this. He is the reason I believe change is possible. Toma blinked. Me? Yes, she said. He looked around at all the Vareli faces. I'm not a leader. I fly ships. I fix things. Exactly, she said. You are honest. You listen. You act with care. That is what we need. The old leader thought for a moment. Then he said, we will allow it. One step. No promises beyond that. But the door will open later in the quiet halls. Azera and Toma walked side by side. That went better than I expected, Toma said. You always say that, Azera smiled. It's true. I thought they'd throw me into a space cell. Azera laughed softly. You don't know Vareli prisons. They're very clean. I'll pass, he said. They stopped near a window. The stars outside were the same ones they had both watched. From different lives, hers in a palace, his in a small ship. You didn't have to speak for me. Toma said, I wanted to. Why? She looked at him, her eyes calm. Because you were kind. And because I want others to see what I saw. Toma looked at the stars. That might take a long time. Then we better start now. Toma stood at the entrance of the neutral space station, Juno Ring. Round him, aliens of different shapes, colors, and sizes moved through wide halls, traders, diplomats, and travelers filled the area. The air smelled like metal, oil, and strange spices. He held a small bag in one hand and a data pad in the other. His ship, the Dawnfire, was parked in the lower docks for repairs. Nothing major, just fuel and a few broken parts. He hadn't expected to see her again. But the message came earlier that day. Princess Azera requests your presence at the Vareli Hall. Juno Ring, your voice is needed. Toma didn't know what to expect. He was not used to politics. He was just a pilot. A man who helped when he could and kept quiet most of the time. Still, he didn't ignore the message. He came now. The tall Vareli guards waited at the entrance. One of them nodded. Human, follow us. No sudden moves. Toma smiled a little. Don't worry. I came in peace. They said nothing and walked ahead. Inside the hall, the walls were smooth and glowing with a soft blue light. The floor was clean, the air cool. Several high Vareli officials sat around a table. Princess Azera stood beside it, wearing a long white robe with silver lines. Her face was calm, but her hands were tight at her sides. Toma entered quietly. He gave a small respectful bow, not to Deeb. One elder stood. Human, you were called here for one reason. Truth. We want to hear your side of the story. Toma nodded. I will speak plainly. They asked him many questions. Where did he find her? Why did he help her? Did he know she was royal? Toma answered all without fear. I found her ship broken near the gray zone. I followed a distress signal. I didn't know she was a princess. I only saw someone who needed help. An old Vareli woman asked sharply. You gave her food, care, and safety. What did you want in return? Nothing, Toma said. No payment, no favor. No. A silence filled the room. The elder woman narrowed her eyes. Then why did you do it? Toma looked around the room. Then at his era. He spoke slowly. Because I could. Because it was right. The room stayed quiet for a few long seconds. Then one young official whispered. That is hard to believe. Azera stepped forward. But it is true. She turned to the council. You taught me that humans cannot be trusted, that they lie, take, and destroy. But this one did not. She looked at Toma. He could have left me there. But he didn't. He could have used me for gain. But he didn't. She turned back. I know it's hard, but I saw it with my own eyes. Not all humans are the same. Outside the council room, Vareli officers and staff waited for the decision. News of the meeting spread fast. Some said the princess was under a spell. Some thought she was lying. Others, mostly young ones, wanted to believe it was true. Inside, the elders continued their quiet talk. Azera sat beside Toma, waiting. He leaned toward her. They don't like me very much. She gave a small smile. They don't like anything that breaks their rules. You're brave for standing up. I only said what was true, she replied. Finally, the eldest council member stood. His eyes were old, deep with time. We have heard both sides. We will not punish the human. He will return to his ship freely. We cannot say if all humans are like him, but we agree this one acted with honor. Toma nodded in thanks. Azera stood. I wish to say one more thing. The elder nodded. I do not want this to be the end, Azera said. We live in fear. We keep walls around our hearts. I wish to open a door, even a small one. The room watched her in silence. I propose we send a small group, a peace delegation, one from each side. Not warriors, not traitors, just people who want to learn. The room buzzed. Voices whispered. Elders looked at each other. This is not the way, one said. Too soon, said another. But the old council leader raised his hand. Let her speak. Azera looked at Toma. I want Toma to be the human side of this. He is the reason I believe change is possible. Toma blinked. Me. Yes, she said. He looked around at all the Vareli faces. I'm not a leader. I fly ships. I fix things. Exactly, she said. You're honest. You listen. You act with care. That is what we need. The old leader thought for a moment. Then he said, we will allow it. One step. No promises beyond that. But the door will open later in the quiet halls. Azera and Toma walked side by side. That went better than I expected, Toma said. You always say that. Azera smiled. It's true. I thought they'd throw me into a space cell. Azera laughed softly. You don't know Vareli prisons. They're very clean. I'll pass, he said. They stopped near a window. The stars outside were the same ones they had both watched from different lives, hers in a palace. It isn't a small ship. You didn't have to speak for me, Toma said. I wanted to. Why? She looked at him, her eyes calm. Because you were kind, and because I want others to see what I saw. Toma looked at the stars. That might take a long time. A few weeks later, the space station Unity Point floated silently between Earth space and Vareli space. It was newly built, shining silver and blue, like a peaceful eye watching the stars. Half of it had human designs, simple, strong, and practical. The other half had Vareli style, curved walls, soft lights, and floating doors. It was the first time in history that humans and Vareli had built something together. And standing at the center of it, near the Unity Hall, were Toma and Azera. They had both arrived early. Toma wore a plain uniform, his only badge a small symbol for peace. Azera wore her royal robe, but simpler this time, without the heavy silver belt of power. She wanted to show she came not as a ruler, but as a voice for peace. This place is quiet. Toma said, looking around. It won't stay quiet for long, Azera replied. Today, both sides meet. And not everyone will be happy. Toma looked at her. You nervous? A little, she said honestly. But I'm ready. Toma smiled. Then let's make history. In the Unity Hall, a round room with soft lights and seats from both cultures. The first delegation meeting began. 10 people from Earth, 10 from Vareli. They came with different ideas, different feelings, and different pasts. Some looked at each other with distrust, others with curiosity. A few didn't speak at all. Toma stood and gave a short greeting. I'm not a soldier. I'm not a leader. I'm just a pilot. He said, but I've seen enough pain in the galaxy to know this. We can't move forward if we keep walking away from each other. Azera stood next. My people once told me that kindness is weakness, that helping others brings danger. But a human saved my life with no reason, no plan. That one act changed everything I believed. The room was quiet. Then a human diplomat said, and what do we gain from this peace? A Vareli elder replied, perhaps we gain safety. Maybe we gain trade. Or maybe we simply stop fearing each other. There was no cheering, no clapping. But no one walked out either. That was something. Over the next few days, the station became a small home to the peace team. Toma and Azera helped guide the others. They organized simple meals, half earth, food, half Vareli fruit. They arranged shared lessons in language and culture. At first, there were small problems. One Vareli officer thought a human laugh was disrespect. A human worker didn't understand Vareli body language and caused offense. But each time, Toma or Zera helped explain, helped calm the storm. They walked the halls together daily, sometimes silent, sometimes talking. One evening, as they passed a group of young trainees from both sides playing a card game together, Zera stopped. She smiled. I never thought I'd see this in my lifetime. You made it happen, Toma said. We made it happen, she corrected. One night, they sat by a large window overlooking a quiet planet below. You miss your ship? Azera asked. Sometimes, Toma said. It was quiet, peaceful. Just me and the stars. You could leave any time. I could. But you stayed. I did. Why? She asked softly. Toma looked at her. You already know the answer. Azera looked out the window. I think I do. But say it anyway. Toma smiled gently. Because I believe in what we're doing. And because I believe in you. Azera was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, I'm not used to this. Trust. Friendship. I always had guards, teachers, rules. You're different. So are you? Toma replied. The next day, something unexpected happened. An old Vareli ship approached Unity Point without permission. It sent a strong signal. Return Princess Azera. This piece is false. This station is a trap. Inside Unity Hall, alarms rang. Guards stood ready. The council gathered quickly. One Vareli elder said, this is a breakaway group. They never accepted peace. A human officer said, we must defend the station. Azera stood. Give me a ship. I will talk to them. Toma stepped forward. You shouldn't go alone. I won't, she said. You're coming with me. They flew out together in a small shuttle. Azera piloted while Toma watched the scanners. This could go badly, he said. I know, she replied. But we must try. They reached the old Vareli ship. It looked worn and battle-ready. A connection opened. The leader, a strong-looking Vareli man, spoke. You are being used, princess. He said, humans cannot be trusted. You're wrong, she said calmly. I trusted one. He saved me. He stood beside me. And now, I ask you, open your eyes. The war is over. You think a few smiles will fix the past? No, she said. But peace starts small. One act, one person, one choice. The leader stared at her, then looked at Toma. You're the one who saved her. Toma nodded. Yes. There was a long silence. Then the connection closed. The ship turned and left. When they returned, both human and Vareli teams clapped softly. The danger had passed. Toma and Azera stood once again at the center of Unity Hall. One human said, we still have much work, a Vareli added, but today was a step. Azera looked at Toma. He gave a small nod. They had built a bridge, and they would keep walking across it together. 6 months had passed since the opening of Unity Point, the first peace station between Earth and the Vareli Empire. The station, once quiet and tense, now hummed with soft energy. People moved through its halls not as enemies, but as learners. Workers and guests, children from both worlds, played in the artificial gardens. Traders smiled as they shared goods and stories. Scientists worked together in labs. combining Earth's tools with Virali energy systems. And every day, Azera and Toma walked those same halls, watching, guiding, and quietly helping the new world they had helped create. In the center garden, where soft blue flowers from Virali soil bloomed beside bright green earth vines, Azera stood alone. She watched the young plants grow round the curved path. This garden had been her idea, a space for peace, not just meetings. She reached down and touched one of the flowers. It opened gently at her touch. "You always come here first," said a familiar voice. She turned. Toma stood near the entrance, holding to warm drinks. "It's peaceful here," Azera replied. "And quiet." Toma handed her a cup. "Everything seems peaceful these days. For now," she said. "But peace is a garden. If you don't care for it, it dies." Toma nodded. "Then we better keep watering it." They both sat on the nearby bench. Round them, the garden glowed with soft light. Virali sunstones floated in the air, mimicking the stars. "You've changed," Toma said after a few minutes. Azera raised an eyebrow. "How so? You smile more." She gave him a look. "That's your proof." Toma chuckled. "And you listen. You ask questions. You trust." Azera looked down at her drink. "I didn't know how much fear I carried until I met you." Toma was quiet. She added, "We were taught to stay apart, to always expect the worst from outsiders. But I met a human who helped me without asking for anything, who kept helping, even when no one was watching." Toma looked at her, thoughtful. "You taught me something too." "Really?" "Yes. That kindness doesn't end when you walk away. It changes people, sometimes in small ways, sometimes big." Azera smiled. "You know, I asked you once why. You were so kind. I remember. I think I know the answer now," she said. Toma tilted his head. "Tell me, you weren't trying to get something. You were trying to give something. And not just to me, to the universe." Toma looked out at the stars. "Maybe I was just tired of watching things fall apart. Then you helped build something instead," Azera said softly. Later that day, a meeting was held in Unity Hall. But this time, it wasn't a debate. It was a celebration. A new agreement had been signed, one that would allow shared schools, joint medical stations, and open travel between certain Earth and Virali zones. It was the biggest step since the station opened. Both sides clapped. Some laughed. Others smiled for the first time. Even the older leaders, once cold and cautious, now seemed warmer. After the speeches, the crowd moved toward the garden for the ceremony. A tree would be planted, half from Earth soil, half from Virali crystal dust, a symbol of growth. A young Virali girl placed the seed into the ground. A boy from Earth poured water over it. Light burst from the soil. The tree began to grow, slowly, glowing from within. Azera watched it with wide eyes. Beautiful. Toma stood beside her. "Just like peace, slow, but worth the wait." She looked at him. "You never wanted power, did you?" "No." "Then, why are you still here?" Toma smiled gently. "Because I believe in you." Her heart skipped. She didn't speak for a moment. Then she said, "I believe in you too." Weeks later, the station became even busier. Delegates from other alien races arrived. Some were curious. Some were unsure. But they all saw something new here, a place where fear did not lead and kindness was not weakness. Azera now led the Unity Council. Toma helped design safety plans and training courses for new travelers. Yet, they still met every evening, always in the same garden. They watched the flowers open. They talked about the day. They shared silence like old friends. One night, as they sat under the floating lights, Azera asked, "Do you ever miss your quiet ship?" Toma smiled. "Sometimes. Do you want to return?" He shook his head. "No, this is where I belong." "Now," she nodded. "Good. I miss you. You manage." "Maybe," she said. "But peace feels stronger with you round." They sat for a while, just watching the stars. Then, as the garden lights dimmed slightly, Azera turned to him and asked softly, "Why are you still being so kind, human?" Toma chuckled. Still asking that, she smiled. "Yes." He looked at her, calm and clear. "Because it matters." And so, under the stars of Unity Point, with flowers from two worlds blooming together, The story of a human and an alien princess became something more. It became the story of peace, a new chapter, and the beginning of a better future.